Hello there. I wanted to have a little chat to you today about astroturfing and astroturfing groups. If it's a term you haven't come across before, it's essentially a fake grassroots movement, like fake grass, astroturf. We've got a few of them running around in this country at the moment that are doing everything they can to try and manipulate outcomes in this election. And don't get me wrong, there is definitely a area in our politics where we've got lobby groups that are doing exactly the same thing. But if you take, for example, Federated Farmers, which is a lobby group that represents about 13,000 people, about the same population as Te Awamutu or Kaiapoi. They've had a history that's over 120 years long of trying to advocate for farmers in one way or another. Sometimes they say stupid things like you should take out mentions of climate change and beef farming in books for schools because that makes us look bad, but they're generally there to do what they can to advocate for farmers, and they tend to work really well with National. For an astroturfing group, it's set up the other way. It's set up generally by people within the party to push their policies and make it look and feel like it's some kind of groundswell movement. In fact, groundswell is one of those movements that the Taxpayers Union helped set up. And the Taxpayers Union themselves have links back to the ACT Party, like Jordan Williams, who's the guy that runs the Taxpayer Union. He was actually an intern for Don Brash. It's those kind of links that sort of show up all the time in these organizations. If you ever look at what the Taxpayer Union, for example, has pushed over the last couple of years, there's their recent "No, we don't like the Green Party tax plan. It's bad for everybody." Without most people looking through it, they could just sit there and go, "Oh yeah," and you get people like this woman who goes and spreads it on their local community page. That's where your problem comes in. It's not a legitimate movement being brought about by people who want to see change. It's a movement that's essentially paid for by other organizations and parties to try and make you think that they want to see change. And the funders for places like the Taxpayer Union include British American Tobacco and some links to the NRA. There are some serious concerns there about what their actual motives are. And as voters, we should be well aware of that. If you see content that comes from something like the Taxpayers Union, Groundswell, or the Free Speech Union, definitely take it with a grain of salt. Do your own research, do some digging to see what the actual truth is, because they can be selective at times with the truth. Like this instance of Groundswell at the field days this weekend, where they got told to stop selling golf balls because there were a number of complaints, and it's actually against the policy for stallholders to have anything like that, but they still went out and blamed the Labour Party. And then Brian Tamaki jumped on board and said, "Hey, look what the Labour Party did." And that's how this bullshit works. The big fourth group that we've got that kind of falls into this is actually Voices for Freedom. They are a large, funded organization where nobody knows where their money is coming from, pushing a really specific political narrative. I mean, that narrative is generally crazy, insane, all kinds of psycho, and really dangerous. But it still technically falls into that astroturfing group because we don't really know where the money comes from, so we don't really know what their motives are.